Madeleine McCann was a 3-year-old British girl whose disappearance became one of the most widely known and emotionally powerful cases in modern history. Born in 2003, Madeleine was described by her family as cheerful, curious, and full of life. She had distinctive bright eyes and a gentle personality that made her instantly recognizable. Her photographs would later be seen across the world, becoming a symbol of a child who vanished without answers. In May 2007, Madeleine traveled with her parents and younger siblings to Praia de Ilhas, a holiday resort town in Portugal. The trip was meant to be a simple family vacation, a chance to relax, enjoy the sunshine, and spend time together. They stayed in a holiday apartment within a resort complex that appeared safe and family-friendly. On the evening of May 3rd, Madeleine and her siblings were put to bed in the apartment while her parents went to dine nearby with friends. The adults believed they were close enough to check on the children regularly. The distance was short, and the environment felt secure. It was a decision that would later be questioned endlessly, but at the time, it did not feel dangerous to them. As the night went on, routine checks were made. Everything appeared normal. Then, during one of the later checks, Madeleine was gone. Her bed was empty. The room was silent. At first, there was confusion, then panic. Her parents searched the apartment, the surrounding area, and alerted resort staff. Within minutes, the situation escalated into a full-scale emergency. Madeleine McCann had disappeared without a trace. Local authorities were notified, and a search began immediately. The resort, nearby streets, and surrounding areas were combed by police, staff, and volunteers. Dogs were brought in. Borders were monitored. But no clear evidence explained how a young child could vanish so quickly from a place filled with people. News of Madeleine's disappearance spread rapidly. Within days, it became international headlines. Her face appeared on television screens, newspapers, and posters worldwide. Millions followed the case, hoping she would be found safe. The phrase "Find Madeleine" became a global call. As the investigation unfolded, confusion and controversy followed. The case was marked by conflicting theories, media pressure, and intense public scrutiny. Portuguese police explored multiple possibilities, including abduction and accidental scenarios. The lack of clear evidence only deepened the mystery. Madeleine's parents remained in Portugal for weeks, refusing to leave without their daughter. They cooperated with investigators and publicly pleaded for information. Their emotional appeals resonated with parents everywhere. The idea that a child could disappear in a moment of normalcy was deeply unsettling. Public support grew on an unprecedented scale. Donations poured in. Awareness campaigns spread across countries. Celebrities, leaders, and ordinary people shared Madeleine's image. She became not just a missing child, but a symbol of vulnerability and unanswered questions. Yet, despite global attention, the investigation struggled. Leads went cold. Witness reports conflicted. The media began speculating, sometimes unfairly, adding pressure and pain to an already devastated family. Over time, frustration replaced hope for many observers. What made the case especially haunting was the absence of closure. There was no confirmed crime scene, no definitive suspect, and no clear explanation. Madeleine McCann seemed to vanish into silence. Years passed, but the case never truly faded. Authorities reopened investigations multiple times. New technologies, new witnesses, and new suspects were explored. Each development sparked renewed interest and renewed heartbreak. Madeleine McCann's story is not only about a missing child, it is about uncertainty, endurance, and the desperate human need for answers. Her disappearance forced changes in how missing children cases are handled and highlighted the importance of immediate response and international cooperation. This first part of her story sets the foundation for understanding why Madeleine's case remains one of the most haunting mysteries in the world. It is a story that continues to ask difficult questions about safety, responsibility, and justice, questions that, even today, remain unanswered.
The investigation into Madeleine McCann's disappearance quickly grew far beyond a routine missing child case. What began as a local police search in a small Portuguese resort soon turned into one of the most complex and controversial investigations in modern history. Pressure mounted rapidly as international media arrived, transforming Praia de Ilhas into a global focal point. Portuguese authorities initially treated the case as a possible abduction. Witness statements were collected, nearby roads were monitored, and border alerts were issued. Police interviewed resort staff, guests, and locals, attempting to reconstruct the timeline of the evening. However, the lack of physical evidence made progress extremely difficult. There were no clear signs of forced entry, no confirmed sightings, and no reliable trail to follow. As days turned into weeks, public expectations clashed with investigative limitations. The intense media presence created an environment where every development was scrutinized, often before facts could be verified. Speculation flourished, and theories multiplied. Some focused on an unknown abductor, while others questioned the circumstances under which Madeleine had been left unattended. The case became a daily headline across Europe and beyond. Madeleine's parents, Kate and Jerry McCann, remain under constant attention. Their actions, expressions, and words were analyzed endlessly by commentators and tabloids. Instead of being viewed solely as grieving parents, they were increasingly placed under suspicion by sections of the media. This shift deeply affected the public narrative and added another layer of complexity to the investigation. At one point, Portuguese police named the parents as formal suspects, a move that shocked supporters around the world. While no charges were ever filed, the designation fueled controversy and mistrust. The McCanns consistently denied any wrongdoing and continued to push for answers, insisting that the focus remain on finding their daughter. Eventually, the suspect's status was lifted, but the damage to public perception had already been done. Meanwhile, the investigation itself faced criticism, communication gaps, jurisdictional challenges, and procedural disagreements slowed progress. International cooperation proved difficult, and evidence sharing between countries was not always seamless. As time passed, the likelihood of finding decisive leads diminished, leaving investigators to rely on fragmented clues and unconfirmed reports. Despite these challenges, the McCanns refused to let the case fade. They established the Madeleine Fund, dedicated to supporting the search and raising awareness. Through public appeals, interviews, and campaigns, they kept Madeleine's name alive in the global consciousness. Their determination turned the case into one of the longest-running missing person investigations in history.
Years later, new developments periodically revived hope. Advances in forensic technology and renewed interest led authorities to re-examine old evidence. British police launched their own review, known as Operation Grange, which brought fresh resources and perspectives to the case. Investigators retraced steps, re-interviewed witnesses, and explored new theories that had previously been overlooked. One of the most significant shifts came when a new suspect emerged years after Madeleine's disappearance. The individual, linked to the area at the time, became the focus of renewed investigations. While definitive answers remained elusive, this development reinforced the belief that the case was not closed and that justice, though delayed, was still being pursued. Throughout this prolonged process, Madeleine McCann's case continued to shape conversations about child safety, media responsibility, and investigative ethics. It highlighted how quickly public opinion can turn and how devastating that scrutiny can be for families already suffering unimaginable loss. The case also demonstrated the power of collective awareness, as millions across the world remained emotionally invested in finding the truth. What made this stage of the story particularly painful was the uncertainty. Without clear answers, every new lead carried both hope and disappointment. Each announcement was met with anticipation, followed by frustration when clarity failed to emerge. Yet, the determination to uncover what happened to Madeleine never fully disappeared. This part of the story reflects a harsh reality. Justice is not always swift, and truth is not always easy to uncover. The investigation into Madeleine McCann's disappearance became a long and exhausting pursuit, marked by controversy, persistence, and unanswered questions. Still, the case refused to be forgotten. The search for Madeleine evolved into something larger than one child. It became a global reminder of vulnerability and the responsibility to protect the innocent. As investigations continued and new information surfaced, the world waited, hoping that one day the mystery would finally be resolved and that a measure of justice could be found.
In the years that followed, Madeleine McCann's case moved beyond an active investigation and became a lasting symbol of unanswered questions. Even as official searches slowed, public interest never fully disappeared. Her name remained etched in global memory, representing not only a missing child, but also the pain of not knowing, the weight of hope, and the endurance of a family that refused to give up. As time passed, the focus of the case shifted from immediate search efforts to long-term investigation and reflection. Authorities revisited old evidence, reanalyzed timelines, and reviewed witness statements with fresh perspectives. What once seemed insignificant was examined again under modern forensic standards. This process highlighted how advancements in technology can offer new possibilities, even in cases that appear frozen in time. Madeleine's parents continued their fight quietly but persistently. They spoke less to sensational media and focused more on cooperation with investigators and private efforts to keep the case alive. Their strength became a defining aspect of the story. Despite years of public judgment, speculation, and emotional exhaustion, they remained committed to finding answers. Their resolve reminded the world that behind every headline is a family living with permanent uncertainty. The case also led to broader conversations about child safety. Parents around the world reconsidered everyday decisions they once took for granted. Resorts and holiday destinations reviewed their security practices. Discussions about supervision, responsibility, and community awareness became more common. In this way, Madeleine's disappearance influenced real change, encouraging people to think more carefully about protecting children in unfamiliar environments. Media responsibility became another major topic shaped by this case. Journalists, critics, and audiences began questioning how stories are told and at what cost. The intense scrutiny faced by Madeleine's family sparked debates about ethics, privacy, and the long-term impact of public speculation. Over time, there was a noticeable shift toward more cautious and respectful coverage, especially in cases involving vulnerable individuals. New leads continued to surface intermittently, reigniting hope. Each update brought renewed attention, reminding the public that the case was still open and that justice had not been abandoned. While none provided definitive closure, they reinforced the idea that persistence matters. Even years later, the pursuit of truth remained active, driven by the belief that every child deserves answers. International cooperation improved as well. Madeleine's case exposed weaknesses in how cross-border investigations were handled, prompting authorities to strengthen communication and collaboration. This legacy ensured that future cases would benefit from lessons learned, potentially preventing similar delays and confusion.
For many people, Madeleine McCann became more than a missing child. She became a symbol. Her image represented vulnerability, innocence, and the universal fear of loss. Candlelight vigils, anniversary messages, and online tributes continued to appear year after year. People who had never met her still felt connected to her story, united by empathy and the shared hope for resolution. The emotional impact of the case extended to law enforcement officers and investigators as well. Many openly acknowledged how deeply the case affected them. It served as a reminder that behind procedures and reports are real lives and real pain. This human aspect shaped how some investigators approached later cases, with greater sensitivity toward families and victims. As the years went by, the question of justice remained central. Justice, in this context, was not only about legal outcomes but about truth, acknowledgement, and closure. Even without definitive answers, the continued efforts to investigate showed a commitment to accountability. The idea that a case should never be forgotten simply because time has passed became a powerful lesson drawn from Madeleine's story. Ultimately, Madeleine McCann's legacy lies in awareness. Her disappearance challenged assumptions about safety, questioned systems meant to protect the innocent, and highlighted the importance of vigilance and compassion. It taught the world that silence and complacency can have lasting consequences, while persistence and unity can keep hope alive. Though the mystery of what happened to Madeleine remains unresolved, her story continues to shape conversations about justice and responsibility. It urges societies to do better for children, for families, and for the truth. Madeleine McCann is remembered not only for her disappearance, but for the change her story inspired. Her case stands as a solemn reminder that every missing child matters, every question deserves an answer, and every effort toward justice counts even when the road is long and uncertain.